and obviously after a nice week-long break over here, we will put on our lovely 2025 this pole fashion. Obviously it's not the pro pole fashion which we use for example for the final races of the final sixth obviously of each the sixth of the season, and yeah, it is round 10, so it is time this year, unlike last year, for the Canadian Grand Prix, as you can see on that wonderfully designed calendar there to my right. So we will tell you everything about this scintillating race, obviously from Scuderia Ferrari's perspective. You know, we really hope, because the track resembles Monza quite a lot, and you know, we won in Monza last year, and obviously we won in Monaco last year. You've seen just how strong we were, for example, in Monaco again, so this bodes well, even though the weather will play a key part, so we kind of hope that it's not going to be raining. But nevertheless, you know, we will definitely be aiming for the victory, and we will tell you everything about, you know, the track. Then definitely do check out the hot lab, and obviously the new F1 25 hot lab, so that you can see, you know, basically how Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, the real Ferrari Formula 1 drivers, you know, drive that real 2025 car. And yeah, we will then, you know, take a look at our achievements, you know, as we aim to add obviously to our collection of the victories. And you know, since we've been coming here to Canada since 1970, obviously when that expo was held in Montreal, you know, it is 55 years, believe it or not, of racing here in Canada. And you know, with the podium definitely, you know, being the target once again, as Charles Leclerc is you know, ramping up obviously his challenge, as he's you know, ratcheting up the standings and kind of, you know, bringing, you know, carrying Lewis Hamilton with him. We are now second in the standings, obviously in the constructor standings, so you know, it's looking great. We will take a look at the drivers and the constructor standing. Again, we've gotten the podium here almost at every Grand Prix that we competed in on average, of course. So that bodes really well, even though Michael Schumacher is not driving, who's the one who's won here 6 times. Can you believe it? I will also tell you about my achievements here at the circuit, named after one of Ferrari's biggest heroes, who sadly, you know, passed away in 1982, but who has managed to score the ever so popular victory here as well. And the circuit was then named after his name, obviously, because you know, at the time it was such a hero, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve over here. So yeah, but what to tell you, obviously, for you know, the race, the Grand Prix proper, it is round 10, unlike round 9, as it was obviously last year. So, you know, that means that the concurrent 2024 season that we are running, as we challenging for our 4th Formula 1 world title, that's the driver's title for Scuderia Ferrari. So you've obviously probably seen what a great Canadian Grand Prix race that I've done. So actually you will see the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, but nevertheless, you know, we are very excited, you know, to show you how to drive this circuit with the SF1000T 818 Formula 1 Racing Simulator, and on this Scuderia Red Retina iMac we will then tell you obviously everything about it. You know, I do believe for us, you know, the target is definitely to win the race, right? Obviously Barcelona is a lot about you know, the all sorts of the corners, so it does really check, you know, the ability of your car very well. That's why it was the testing circuit, and obviously as a result, you know, that is also why you can probably see that maybe the orange cars have a little bit of an advantage over the red cars, but here with you know, the top speed, you know, and with the braking zones and the traction, especially if we can master it, you know, I believe we are in for a really good victory, because that will definitely be the target. You know, I do believe we could have, you know, achieved the, you know, victory almost at every race. The weather will be critical, but we will be aiming for this shiny golden Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophy, you know, to lift it in style here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So shall we take a look at the official Scuderia Ferrari website, and you know, talk about how the circuit looks like and exactly, you know, how to master it? Do you wanna see it? Of course you are. So over here, everybody, let's take a look at it. And yeah, here, you know, there are no changes. Obviously, we had a week off, you know, and overall, you know, there's maybe only a danger of some driver perhaps getting a race ban. So, you know who that is. Obviously, there's a big fallout from what happened after the safety car peeled off at the end of lap 60 there in the Spanish Grand Prix. I have to say, for us, this is totally what's been expected, totally what we've known since that particular driver, who is also a 4-time world champion, like I will be, of course, who simply cannot control his emotions, and it didn't come as a surprise, but it is obviously great that it didn't cost us, any points, and it helped, especially Lewis Hamilton, to get a better result. So overall, that will be interesting if anybody gets into trouble, and also this is the final race in the spring season, and obviously then it will be time for the final 4 races in the European season in that summer, as we will then have the summer break and finish off the final 2 races on the European soil before obviously we will be traveling around the world. And here we are coming here to this Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, so let me show it to you over here on this beautiful red retina iMac. So over here I think you can see it very nicely there, everybody. Obviously, it looks great. The circuit is obviously very specific, as we can see, and it does feature, as it was obviously, it made its debut in 1970. That's why it's got 70 laps. Nowadays you can run it in less than 70 seconds, so it's all about 70. Well, it's 75 years of Formula 1 too, right? It basically requires a really low, downforce setup. So obviously you will be going here from that round, from that first turn. So you start the lap over here. We will obviously show it to you, but you can see basically it's straights with chicanes, right? So this is the first long chicane, then the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one, and then you're going to go to the hairpin over here. Again, hairpin is a great overtaking spot, but actually you can kind of overtake into every chicane. I would say maybe the fourth chicane, the turns 8 and 9, would probably be the most difficult chicane to overtake into. I believe in my illustrious Ferrari career, I managed to overtake pretty much into every single one of them. And here, be careful with the final chicane. Obviously, this is the best overtaking opportunity, as the DRS will be wide open. Be careful so you don't hit the wall of the champions, right? Because it is, very lovely feature over here. It is a name wall of the champions, because obviously it featured so many world champions crashing into that particular wall there. This is the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as you can see, with the lap record of 1:13.0. We will see if we will be able to beat it in the race. This is how the circuit looks like. Obviously here you would be coming in, I believe into the pits, so there is that wall of coming out of the pits over here. So this was also the scene where I believe Lewis Hamilton received that helmet, and that was from Ayrton Senna, because he surpassed his pole position total in 2017. Obviously Lewis Hamilton, the new Ferrari driver, it was very emotional for him. For us, we've been quite successful over here. Obviously the Canadian Grand Prix has been run over here since 1917, where obviously Gilles Villeneuve won that famous race, but overall we won 12 races, half of them obviously achieved by Michael Schumacher. We are absolutely very excited about the race, but we've only been on pole position 8 times, set 10 fastest laps and 37 podiums. So if you think about it, roughly 50 races, almost 40 podiums, that bodes really well. Obviously here, I do remember Michael winning here quite a lot, and obviously in my career, especially at the beginning, I found this to be one of the easiest circuits to learn, and also one of my most successful hunting grounds. So this is how it looks like, and again, we've been very successful over here, especially as I said with Michael Schumacher. So now let's take a look at who will we be competing against, right? So here we have the Drivers' Championship for the 2025 season, and you can see that Oscar Piastri is leading with 186 points. He has extended his advantage to 10 points over his teammate Lando Norris, 176 points. Obviously, both drivers are very equally matched on points, but also on the carry race victories. Even though Piastri has significantly more this season, you can see it's quite interesting that when he gets my 6th career win, I will do so. When he gets his 7th career win, I will do so as well. So they pushing each other quite well, and so far the rivalry hasn't produced any fireworks. But who knows? That's what happened at the beginning with Hamilton and Rosberg, and then you saw how it just imploded, right? Third is still Max Verstappen, the reigning reigning world champion on 137 points. You can see, for him, the real pity is he cannot even be leading after leaving the Red Bull ring, or unless obviously Piastri and Norris, Piastri doesn't even score 1 point, which I think that would be, unless he crashes out twice, and same would have to happen to Norris, he couldn't get 11 points. So that is a really low odds of that happening. But yeah, for Verstappen, that implosion at the end of the Spanish Catalan, or we should say Barcelona Grand Prix, obviously that is probably definitely his world championship hopes over. Then you can find us fourth. Then is George Russell, 111 points. Fifth, Charles Leclerc, 94 points. So it will be very important for Leclerc to try to go for a victory. Obviously, he is a big admirer of Gilles Villeneuve, so to win at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve would be absolutely fantastic. He even sported his helmet, I believe, 2 years ago. So Leclerc. Here the goal would be try to surpass Russell or try to get as close to him in points as possible. If you win and Russell finishes outside of the podium, that gap, which currently stands at 17 points, could evaporate almost completely. With Lewis Hamilton, we hope he can find his mojo. He's on 71 points. Obviously, we hope that Lewis can score a podium. That's what he was aiming for in Barcelona. That would help him if he would have won. I'm sure he would be loving it here for the second time being on the North American continent. Hamilton extremely popular over here. That would be really, and it's a scene of some great moments for Lewis Hamilton. Obviously that 2017 race comes to mind when he surpassed Senna's pole position record. When he also gotten the victory, as obviously Vettel got that 5-second time penalty. That could have been that could have brought our wins total to 13, the unlucky 13, right? But obviously we've gotten a 5-second time penalty because Vettel was just adjusted to simply push Hamilton off the track. So you could see him changing that number 1 sign and obviously being very angry about it. We all were, but hey, Hamilton over here, he's always run very strongly, so I wouldn't be surprised if he outqualified Leclerc and actually went for a victory or definitely got on the podium. 7 is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, 48 points, obviously very unlucky score, 0 points in the whole of the triple header, European triple header. 8, Alexander Albon, 42 points. 9, Aziz Hajar now with 21 points, knocking on that Red Bull seat. 10, Esteban Ocon, 20 points. 11, the hero of Barcelona, Nico Hülkenberg with 16 points. That was pretty impressive by Sauber. 12 is then Lance Stroll, 14 points. The only Canadian driver. It will be interesting to see if he will compete. Obviously, he pulled out of the Spanish Grand Prix after qualifying due to the pain in the wrist. So we will see what happens with Stroll. 13 Carlos Sainz, 12 points. 14 Pierre Gasly, 11 points. 15, only 15 for Yuki Tsunoda, 10 points. He must be really having a torrid time in that Red Bull. Kind of unexpected, isn't it? 16, Oliver Berman, 6 points. 17, Liam Lawson, 4 points. 18, Fernando Alonso got off the mark with 2 points, finally for him. 19, Gabriel Bortoleto, 0 points. Hey, listen, if Sauber keeps up, the same level of performance, he could well score his first points in Formula 1. 28, Jack Doohan, 0 points. He won't be competing, so he won't score points. 21st, Franco Colapinto, 0 points. If he can match Gasly, he could also be on maybe for scoring his first points this season, right? That's not what we expected. So this is how the driver standings looks like, for the constructor standings. So we are, at the place where we hope to stay, but don't hope to stay throughout the season, but at least probably up until the summer break. So this is the Formula 1 Constructors Championship for 2025-2025. McLaren leading with 362 points. We are second with 165 points. So the goal is obviously start closing up the gap and do not relinquish the second place. Again, this is the same position we finished last year. And I'm sure if we can start to get better results than McLaren, we will slowly but surely reel them in. Again, the difference is 197 points, but nothing is impossible because there are so many points still on offer. Third, Mercedes, 159 points. We definitely hope to leave them in our wake. And fourth, Red Bull, I think 144 points. With that terrible result for Verstappen, I see them staying fourth for the remainder of the season. Fifth is then Williams, 54 points. Sixth, Racing Bulls doing really well there, 28 points. So yeah, that will be interesting how well they do. 7, Haas, 26 points. 8 kicks over, 16 points there, has gotten ahead of 9 Aston Martin, 16 points, 10 Alpine, 11 points. So lots of fights going on all the way to the back, which again, makes it very exciting. No matter who your favorite team is, the races will always be very, very exciting, as obviously a lot of things can happen and you can always climb up the table, right? Which is what we hope. So that was the Constructors' Championship, that was the Drivers' Championship, and this was the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So now let's take a look, as we obviously put it nicely back over here at Jan, the Smiling Sun champion. So with regards to my performances over here, I won here 2 times. Now I will definitely be aiming for the third lucky victory, which in the 2024 season I've achieved so many times. So definitely do check it out, because the third time lucky is definitely happening, right? Yes, I've also managed to set the 2 pole positions, so I definitely will be aiming for the third. Even though obviously we know what happened last year, so we definitely want to do much better this year. And surprisingly enough, I've only set the 1 fastest lap, so definitely a lot to improve. I've also been only on a podium twice as well. I believe twice outside of the points. So overall, it will be very important over here. To especially for my the title hopes, to obviously go for a victory, and again the lucky 3, that would set me half of Michael Schumacher's victory here in Barcelona. I cannot wait to race it with the SF1000T 818 Formula 1 Racing Simulator. This was the race introduction. It is kind of, the race right smack in the middle of the June, on the June 15. The other races only, the whole weekend do not actually run over, in June. Obviously, the happy birthday, Austrian Grand Prix is going to be very exciting this year for me. But yeah, let's enjoy this race. We are really looking forward to it. This is where we are expecting to be very competitive. And I cannot wait to sing the Italian national anthem for the Scuderia Ferrari victory, right? This was Jan, the Smiling Sun champion and Ferrari's fastest driver. This was the introduction to the round 10 of the 2025 Formula 1 World Championship. And now all I can say